right, so today we're going to be talking about a special triangle, a special right triangle that can be made from an equilateral triangle. So we have to remember what an equilateral triangle is. So equilateral means that all the sides are equal. So I had a whiteout issue here, but we have our triangle that is each side is 2 inches. They're all equal. And because all 3 sides are equal, or in our case, they're all 3 inches, we also know that each angle is 60 degrees in an equilateral triangle, right? This one's 60, this one's 60, and this one's 60. Because if you remember, I think you guys did this in 8th grade, that a triangle, when you add all of its angles together, they equal 180 degrees, right? So if I know that my angles have to be equal, 180 degrees divided by 3 is 60. So each angle is 60 degrees. So that's helping us remember some things about equilateral triangles. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this triangle in half, right? So I took this like green line here and split it in half, and I redrew those 2 triangles here, okay? So this side is still 2 inches. This side's still 2 inches. This side is still 2 inches, right? Because we didn't change those side lengths. But now that I cut it in half down the middle, this section, this is just 1 inch. And this is just 1 inch because 2 inches split in half is 1 inch each. So we now have 2 right triangles, right? Because this is a 90-degree angle and this is a 90-degree angle. This is still 60 degrees, right? We didn't split it up. It's still 60 degrees from up here. But now this top angle that was 60 degrees together, we split it in half. So if I take 60 degrees and split it in half, that's 30 degrees and 30 degrees. So I'm just going to draw that triangle, one of them, right? Doesn't matter. I'm just going to draw it a little bit more large over here, I guess, so we can see it. So this is 60, this is 90, this is 30 degrees. This side is 2 inches, and this side is 1 inch, right? I just took this triangle and blew it up. So this is a special type of triangle. It's called a 30, 60, 90 triangle. It's a special right triangle. 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees. And the reason it's a special triangle is because it has a special ratio between the 3 sides. It's a common triangle. And we can use Pythagorean theorem to find this missing leg, right? We know one leg is 1 inch. We don't know this other leg, but we know the hypotenuse is 2 inches. So we're going to find this ratio. So if I write Pythagorean theorem here, okay? Let's just call A, let's always make A the short leg. And let's make B the long leg, okay? C is always the hypotenuse. Nothing's changed there, but just for consistency, let's do this. So what is the measurement of our short leg? Our short leg is 1 inch. So in our case, this is 1 inch. What's our long leg? We don't know. So that's our question mark. We have no idea. Write my one like that, right? And C in our case, the hypotenuse, we know is 2 inches. So I'm just writing this down so I can solve for it. So I'm going to write on this so we don't run out of space. I'm going to write right here so you can still see. So for a squared plus b squared equals c squared, a is 1 inch, so this is 1 squared. B is the thing we don't know, so let's write it here. C is 2 inches, so I can plug in a 2 squared. Now let's solve this. 1 times 1 for 1 squared is 1. B squared is still b squared. We don't know what that is. And then 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4. Now let's solve for b. First I need to take away 1 to this side. So b squared equals 4 take away 1 is 3. That goes away. Remember, that's 0. So what does b have to be? Well, I have to take the square root of b, right? So I can use, let me see if I have a, yeah, I'll use this one. So if I take the square root of that, I have to take the square root of that side too. So this becomes b equals the square root of 3. So we just figured out this missing side. So I'll come and write it in a different color because now we figured out that this side dimension is the square root of 3 inches, right? It's still inches. We could actually find the square root of 3 if I just use my calculator. the square root of 3 is 1.73050808. I could write all that, but it's too long. And it's actually not accurate because what my calculator has done is just rounded. It's cut off the decimals after this place. So the square root of 3 is more accurate because that's a reflection of the entire number. I'm not rounding. So this is the special ratio for a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Is that if you, so let's do this. I'm going to cover this up and you should write this part in your notebook. So let me get a dark pen. If I have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, doesn't matter how it's oriented, right? This would be your 90. This would be your 30. Just trying to label it. So this is your C, and your short leg, we'll call this the short leg, is your A, and your long leg is your B. Here is the special ratio we've just found. When the short leg is 1 inch, so when the short leg is 1, any unit, could be 1 inch, 1 foot, 1 centimeter, and your other leg, we found out, is the square root of 3, and your hypotenuse is 2. So this is your ratio, and you can always remember it. If you have a 30, 60, 90 right triangle, the ratio is 1, 2, root 3, right? The short leg, I realize I mislabeled this. Your short leg is A. This should be 1. That's your short leg, because your short leg is always opposite your 30-degree angle. My picture just isn't very good. And your long leg is root 3. So if you want to label this as short leg and long leg, you can. So we're going to use this, okay? We're going to use this to solve some problems. So let's look at this. I'm going to put this here because we're going to need it. Okay, so this here's an equilateral triangle again, right? It's been split in half, and it's asking us what the height of this triangle is. So what is this dimension from R down to here? So if I redraw just one side of this triangle, right? I'll redraw that right side again. My drawing isn't perfect, right? But it's split in half. 12 split in half, this means this is 6. The hypotenuse is still 12, and they're asking us what this thing is. This is our mystery thing. So what is our short leg versus our long leg? This is our long leg, right? So we're trying to figure out this. Our short leg is 6, and our hypotenuse is 12. So when I solve for this, using the Pythagorean theorem, right? I know A, my short leg, is 6. Yep. Let's do this. My long leg is my question mark, and my hypotenuse is 12. Okay? So this is a special 30, 60, 90 triangle. Why do we know that? Because it's an equilateral triangle split in half. So this is 90. This angle right here is 60 degrees, and that means this angle right here is 30 degrees. Okay? So we can use our ratios. Do you remember before that our ratios were A was 1, B is root 3, and C is 2. That's our basic 30, 60, 90 triangle. But our numbers are different. Our A is 6, our B we don't know, and our C is 12. So what is the missing ratio we have to get from 1 to 6? What do we have to multiply by? What about to get from 2 to 12? Hopefully you're noticing that. I'm noticing that if I take 1 times 6, I get 6. And the same is true here. If I do 2 times 6, I get 12. So really, to get from my basic, or my rule, my basic unit of a 30, 60, 90 triangle, all I'm doing is this triangle, everything is being multiplied by 6. So how can I get my mystery B? Well, I need to multiply that by 6. So what is the square root of 3 multiplied by 6? You could use your calculator and get some decimal, or you can just write, well, that's just equal to the square root of 3 multiplied by 6, which is that. So when we go here, the height of the triangle is 6 square root of 3 inches, right? Because that's what our units are. So for these problems, what you're always going to do is set up your A, B, and C, write down the original 30, 60, 90 side length ratios from up here, and then put what your dimensions are and see what you have to multiply by to get there to find the missing one. So let's try a couple more before we go. Okay, here we go. We've got 30, 90, so this one must be 60, so let's label it. Let's label A, B, C. Because it's a 30, 60, 90, I'm going to go ahead and copy down these ratios. I know A is supposed to be 1, B is supposed to be root 3, and C is supposed to be 2. All right, but let's actually see what ours are. A, remember, is the short leg. What's the length of our short leg? Well, our short leg is this one, right? And that's 4. So I'm just going to write 4. Okay? And then B is our long leg. Well, our long leg is here, and it just says V. Okay? And C is our hypotenuse. Our hypotenuse is here, and it just says U. All right, so really we only have one ratio we can check. So what I'm checking is, how do I get from 1 to 4? What's my multiplication I'm doing there? I'm doing times 4. So that means for each one of these, I need to multiply by 4 to get my answer. Times 4 times 4. So what does V equal? V equals whatever root 3 times 4 is. Well, that's 4 times root 3. That is your answer right there. Okay? For V. You don't need to solve it. You can just leave it like that. All right, for U, what is U going to be equal to? Well, it's going to be equal to whatever 2 times 4 is. Well, 2 times 4 is 8. So all I did was use this to determine my ratio, and then I multiplied that by the other one. So I could actually come over here and label this one is equal to 8, and V is equal to 4 root 3. Okay. Right, what about this one? We're trying to find X and Y. So let's set up our A, B, C again. All right, A is our short leg. It's supposed to be 1. B is our long leg. It's supposed to be root 3. And C is our hypotenuse. It's supposed to be 2. So using those numbers from up there. Okay, but our triangle is actually different, and it's a 90, 60, so this one must be 30. And I can use this rule because it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay, A, our short leg here is actually Y. So let's put a Y down here. Our long leg is actually X, so let's put an X down here. And our hypotenuse is 6. So I have to use this to figure out my ratio. 2 times what gives me 6? Well, that's 2 times 3. So I'm going to do times 3 here and times 3 here so that I can get my dimensions of Y and X. So what is 1 times 3? Well, that's 3. So I can come over here and say Y equals 3. And what's root 3 times 3? Well, that's just 3 root 3. 3 times root 3. I don't actually have to put in the calculator, so I can come over here and say X equals 3 root 3. And the hypotenuse we already know is 6. All right, so we're going to practice this today and tomorrow because I know it's a bit tricky, but we'll get better at it, I promise. See you next time.